Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3 5. Test 1 2 3.
I agree. We liked that. Thank you. Good morning and welcome, everyone. How about this for some beautiful weather after the heat and the humidity earlier? We can take more of this. But I don't like to see summer going along so quickly. Boy, middle of August, what happened? Welcome to our worship, and God bless us now as we lift up our prayers and praise to the Lord. Thank you for being here, and may you get a clear sense of God's presence here and through the coming week. Just call your attention to a couple of things. Perhaps most importantly, next Sunday we will not have worship here, but instead we'll join the Assemblies of God Church in Dallas Lutheran for a service in the park down there as we did last year. Okay, had a good time last year, both for the service, but then on those who brought, I believe there's some potluck. Better check on that. Last year we had something to eat as well. So keep that in mind, and it'll be, what time was it? 9:30 next week. We will be celebrating Holy Communion today. We encourage and invite everyone to join us who believe that Jesus Christ is the risen Lord and Savior. Welcome, please, at that time. I believe that's all I needed to review. I thought there was a couple other things, but those are down at Dallas more. Is there anything that any of you have to add to that? Again, thank you for your presence, and may God bless us, fill us with his Holy Spirit. We'll be following in the bulletin that's been given to you, if you turn to the opening page for that. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Would you please rise for the confession and forgiveness? Blessed be the Holy Trinity, the God of manna, the God of miracles, and the God of mercy. Amen. Drawn to Christ and seeking God's abundance, let us confess our sin. God, our provider, help us. It is hard to believe that there is enough to share. We question your ways when they are different from the ways of the world in which we live. We turn to our own understanding rather than trusting in you. We take offense at your teachings and your ways. Turn us again to you. Where else can we turn? Share with us the words of eternal life and feed us for the life of the world. Amen. Beloved people of God, in Jesus, the manna from heaven, you are fed and nourished. By Jesus, the worker of miracles, there's always more than enough. Through Jesus, the bread of life, you are shown God's mercy. You are forgiven and loved into abundant life. Amen. Please remain standing, and before we join in the gathering hymn, let us join in the prayer of the day. Together, ever-loving God, your Son gives himself as living bread for the life of the world. Fill us with such a knowledge of his presence that we may be strengthened and sustained by his risen life to serve you continually through Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen. You may be seated, and let's join in singing, Joyful, Joyful, we adore you. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the gloom of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light. All thy works with the joy surround thee, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and angels sing around thee, center of unbroken praise. Field and forest, vale and mountain, flowery meadow, flashing sea, chanting bird and a flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee. Thou art giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed, wellspring of the joy of living, ocean depth of happy rest. Thou our Father, Christ our brother, all who live in love are thine. Teach us how to love each other, fill us with thy joy divine. I selected a set of special lessons to illustrate the theme on which I'm talking today. I asked Debbie not to read the first reading. It does contain the story of something that I will refer to, but it's pretty long and rather confusing as it was chopped up a little bit. So Debbie will continue with the psalm and other lessons.
The psalm for today is taken from chapter 133, and I'm just going to read through it. It's not responsive. How very good and pleasant it is when kindred live together in unity. It is like the precious oil on the head, running down upon the beard, on the beard of Aaron, running down over the collar of his robes. It is like the dew of Hermon, which falls on the mountains of Zion, for there the Lord ordained his blessing, life forevermore. The second lesson comes to us from 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 through 16. Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. God's love was revealed among us in this way. God sent his only Son into the world so that we might live through him. In this is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the atoning sacrifice for our sins. Beloved, since God loved us so much, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is perfected in us. By this we know that we abide in him, and he in us, because he has given us of his Spirit. And we have seen and do testify that the Father has sent his Son as the Savior of the world. God abides in those who confess that Jesus is the Son of God, and they abide in God. So we have known and believe the love that God has for us. God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Please rise for the reading of the gospel according to John chapter 13, verses 1 through 5. Glory to you, O Lord. Now, before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around them. This is the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated, and we'll continue in joining with the hymn, What Wondrous Love Is This? soul. To God and to the Lamb I will sing, I will sing. To God and to the Lamb I will sing. To God and to the Lamb, who is the great I am. While millions join the theme, I will sing, I will sing. While millions join the theme, I will sing. And when from death I'm free, I'll sing on, I'll sing on. And when from death I'm free, I'll sing on. And when from death I'm free, I'll sing God's lovely theme. All dream eternity, I'll sing on, I'll sing on. And through eternity, I'll sing on. Well, you sang that hymn very nicely. I just love that hymn. I didn't expect you might know it real well. We sang that in my choir when I was, say, between 4th grade and 8th grade. Our dorm parent had a choir for about 70 of us. And that song from the early decades of our country out in the Appalachian Mountains and so forth just always hit me, one of those folk tunes. But mostly I chose it because it calls upon us what wondrous love is this, and talks about the love of God. We are exploring different principles by which servants of God live. We are motivated and directed by principles within us. And today we're looking at how we're called upon to be loving, okay? And that hymn definitely follows that theme. Let us pray. May the words of my mouth, the meditations of our hearts, be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. As August continues, the summer is quickly moving on. Boy, is that depressing, isn't it? But it's a time for growth and maturity in nature. Down at our place, we have a small orchard with 3 apple trees and some cherries and so forth. And the deer have been coming in the early morning. It's kind of fun to get up and sometimes get a look at them. Last evening, a doe arrived with her spotted little fawn. Without even breaking her side, she just kind of ambled up and then leaped right over the fence, okay, the 3-foot fence. I figured that the fawn would have to wait. But after just a short little pause, he just sprang over that thing just as easily. Incredible. That's a lot of progress he's made since his birth, just a couple months ago. And he's going to need a lot more strength and vitality in the less bountiful seasons ahead. But right now, the apples are on the ground and they got plenty to browse on wherever they go, those deer. It's not only in nature that God has arranged for growth and vitality, is what we see at this time. In the spiritual dimension, God expects maturity as well, the fruits of the Holy Spirit. More than any other creature, we are created in God's image with the ability to seek and to serve an eternal purpose. I don't know what else drives deer, but they do have an appetite, and I know my horses have an appetite, and you and I have appetites, but we have much more than our physical. We have wills and intelligence and choices to be able to be making our own decisions. And we're in this season, this period of looking at different principles by which we are motivated. We are created in God's image, and we have an ability to seek God's eternal purpose. We not only have the appetites and instincts of our body, but also convictions and principles of our mind. During the season of Pentecost, we embrace the power of God's Holy Spirit to nurture and to mature our characters so that our purpose for life becomes more than just surviving comfortably. That's important, that we survive. But our purpose for life must also include the compulsion to serve compassionately. Yes, to survive comfortably, but also to serve compassionately, lovingly. People with strong characters are self-controlled and motivated by basic principles of life. And in this series that I'm sharing this summer,
I've already shared 5 of the most important. We are to be healthy. We are to be productive. We are to be honest, brave, and we are to be content. And I have 3 more in the weeks ahead: to be just, and to be generous, and to be resolute. All principles of the Holy Spirit working in us. But today I would like to just consider what maybe is the most important and the most central to our life, and that is to be loving. Basically, the universe around us is a great dance of cooperation, if you think about it. The stars in their galaxies, the planets in their solar systems, atoms in their molecules, and particles in the atoms. Likewise, the process of life is an infinitely complicated interaction of mineral and chemical and electrical components. Just an amazing dance of existence. Wherever we look and whatever we examine, everything is composed of different kinds of elements, somehow cooperating together. And when they don't cooperate, things fall apart. What is true for nature around us, from the universe to the smallest atom, is also true for our human relations as we interact with one another. To begin with, each individual is formed from an interaction of 2 very different persons, our mothers and fathers. Families are formed when different members share the same benefits and duties of our home life. Communities are created when neighbors contribute their different skills to a united enterprise. Nations are established when populations unite under common laws to pursue security, prosperity, and dignity for all the citizens and residents. At each level of society, in other words, different individuals must combine their particular talents and our energies, combine them together with those of others, so that everyone together can achieve what we cannot do by ourselves. We're all cooperating and contributing to make the whole much greater than the sum of the parts. As long as both nature and humanity are basically a process of cooperation like this, we should expect that it would be the most simple and natural thing for people to love one another. The principle, be loving, in fact, is about the most difficult one of all. Some time ago on the radio, I heard a prominent rabbi, Michael Lerner, make a basic point about how each person approaches the challenges of life with an outlook somewhere between extreme trust and extreme fear. We know people who are just afraid of everything and just live with a concern about being hurt or injured. And we know other people who just are not afraid of anything, just blunder through whatever, and don't seem to have fear or respect for anything. The rabbi argued that those who have a strong sense of fear tend to compete against each other. And those with a strong sense of trust, tend to cooperate with each other, okay? So competition increases our sense of fear because we regard others as opponents who will use and manipulate us. In contrast, cooperation increases our sense of love for one another because we trust others to be comrades who will help and strengthen us. Isn't that true? It just seems so obvious when he pointed that out. But we all live on this median between fear and love, between competing with one another and cooperating with them. We live in a dangerous world, and we're surrounded by threats. Our first instinct is to trust anything that's different. It's much easier to imagine the harm someone might do to us than to imagine the help that that person might give to us. Also, we live in a competitive world, and Americans know all about that, where spoils go to the winner. In many ways, we've learned to take advantage of others before they take advantage of us. Also, most of us take a perverse and proud pleasure in depriving or diminishing other people, even sometimes when it hurts us. We just find pleasure in the pain of other people. We're not so concerned that we have it bad as long as someone else has it worse. And isn't that terrible? But that's true. So the challenge to be loving compels us to overcome these base and stupid instincts and to embrace the enterprise of joining together with others for the greater good, to be loving. In the great commandment, love your neighbor, Jesus refers to our own appetites and desires, our experience of eros, the measure of how we should respect others. In the golden rule, we are told, do unto others as you would have them do to you. That's more a reference to brotherly love, the calculated and accepted rules of behavior which we share with others. But finally, Jesus also gave the new commandment, love one another as I have loved you. And there he refers to agape, the Greek word, the selfless sacrificial love that Jesus himself embodied in his life and in his death, serving others. You got those things? Jesus gave us the great commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. He gave us the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And he gave us the new commandment, love one another. And each one of them reflect a different aspect of how we are to be loving. I selected some special scripture lessons this morning, which Debbie read for us. I actually I asked her not to read the story about David, who became king, and Jonathan, who was the son of the king. They were the same age. They were filled with vitality and ambition. Both wanted to be king, and yet they were the closest of friends. And there's a drama in their story about how they limited themselves, respecting King Saul until the time might come. But they recognized that they would continue to support and uphold one another despite their competition against one another. I won't go into that story more, but there's a powerful example of when friendship and love and respect for two individuals was greater than the competition and the ambition that they had against one another. But also then I had Debbie read the other familiar passages. In 1 John, we read how God's love was revealed to us in this way. God sent his only Son to the world that we might live through him. And this is love, not that we love God, but that he loved us and sent his Son. Be loving is just a basic principle of our Christian faith. And the example that we have for it most was recorded in our gospel lesson, where we read about how during the Last Supper, Jesus, despite his being the authoritative figure of their teacher and their rabbi, he knelt down and washed the feet of the disciples, something that only slaves and servants were to do. Just a demonstration of humble love and service to them. When Jesus was asked about the nature of love, he told a familiar story about the Good Samaritan. And you and I can relate to his parables better than we can relate to his theological expostulations and other teaching. But in the Good Samaritan, the man is mugged by some thugs and he's left to die. Two officials, knowing how dangerous and difficult it would be, ignore him lying broken and helpless there, and they go on their way. But a common Samaritan, not even a fellow country person, had mercy on that fellow, and he chose to make the effort and the danger and the expense of helping that poor fellow. He demonstrated for us what it is to be loving. When God created the heavens and the earth, he created a universe. Universe means turned into one. In God's creation, all things rotate as one unit, and they operate by one design, and they cooperate with one purpose. So as part of God's creation, we are compelled to live by the example and the principle of be loving. Love one another as I have loved you. Amen.
Would you please remain seated as we join in the prayers, and the intercessions are printed in your bulletin. Rooted in Christ and sustained by the Spirit, we offer our prayers for the church, the world, and all creation. O God of wisdom, enlighten your church. Guide theologians, biblical scholars, authors, and seminary professors as they seek greater knowledge and invite others into deeper understanding. Teach us to ask faithful questions and open our minds to new ideas. God, in your mercy, God of all creation, mend the earth, cool warming oceans, and preserve the melting ice caps. Increase our awareness of changing climate patterns and reveal new approaches to the ecological challenges that we face. Shield those in the path of hurricanes or tropical storms. Lord, in your mercy. God of all nations, direct our leaders, grant them courage to lay aside political grudges and renew their determination to address difficult conflicts. Guide them in the work of reconciliation. Lord, in your mercy. O God of compassion, tend the wounded, rescue those tormented by mental illness or mired in addiction,